Hey, Mason here with my day 4/day 5 update. I didn't play much on day 4, so there was not really much to update, but I did get some good progress on day 5. But I will just first start off with what I actually progressed. I've done first 2 bosses of all of these, but I'm pretty sure I can kill the rest of them. And I've also done 8 out of 10 for the map Atlas points, which involves killing a Citadel boss with 6 mods. I've also finished my Atlas tree 40 out of 40. The main thing I want to start with is the fact that I'm actually holding a Quarterstaff. So I actually ended up swapping off Hollow Palm, and I'll explain a little bit why and show some maths supporting my reasoning, and kind of explain why I swapped off this. But the TLDR is that the Hollow Palm scaling is good to get into tier 15s, early tier 15s. But basically after that, it's very, very hard to scale, and it's much more cost effective to go with a standard Quarterstaff and dropping Hollow Palm on your skill tree. So I'm no longer taking Hollow Palm here. And it's mainly just a cost to price kind of thing. It was just more cost effective for me to drop. So I'll just talk a little bit about the maths behind it that I did after, I think it was around yesterday. In the event section of the previous video, I did mention that I think I could get Hollow Palm up to killing tier 4 bosses. But after reviewing the actual numbers, which I haven't actually looked at before, that kind of went out the window, and I'll talk a little bit about why. So to start here, if you are using a Quarterstaff, you need to use pinpoint to cap your crit. And this is required because it's very hard to get enough crit chance to get to 100% without pinpoint, which gives you a massive 60% more crit chance. It's more crit chance. Meanwhile, with Hollow Palm, with extremely min-maxed ES gear, you can probably drop pinpoint because you get a lot of base crit from Hollow Palm itself. And with that in mind, you can now run close combat, which gives you 1.3 damage because it's 30% more damage when you're close to the enemy. The rest of these supports are shared across both setups, so I haven't encountered for them in the mathematics. The damage difference is 1.86, meaning you're doing 80% more damage with Hollow Palm if you're just including supports. Okay. Here's where the kind of main kind of issue comes through. Hollow Palm's flat that you get is actually like really low. So with a level 25 skill gem, that's +2 from gloves, melee skill gems, and +3 from amulet. Hollow Palm only goes up to 320, and we can see this through going up to here in the POE2 DB section for unarmed flat damage. So this is Hollow Palm. We could see that it actually shows us that at level 25, gives us a top end of 320 max damage. So that's where I've gotten this 320 from. Meanwhile, for the weapon, I put in 400 to illustrate something that I'll show you in a second. But we'll talk about skill effectiveness. So at level 25, we also have the numbers for Flicker Strike. And at level 25, we can see here that Flicker Strike does 474% of your attack damage per hit. So that's where this 474 came from. To illustrate my purpose, with the +6 attack skills Quarterstaff, which is actually very easy to get this league, Flicker Strike goes up. So we see here +6, so that would be 31. Flicker Strike goes up to 741% damage effectiveness. That's where this number comes from. Now we can kind of compare the damage numbers. So the way I'm comparing this is I'm taking the flat, I'm timesing it by the percentage effectiveness of the skill of Flicker Strike, and then I'm timesing it by the multiplier. That's where this comes from, this formula here. We can see that for the Quarterstaff, 400, which is the base I've chosen, times 741% times 0.7 multiplied from pinpoint is 2000 damage. Meanwhile, for Hollow Palm, it's the same formula here. This one times this one times this one, and that results in around 2000 damage. Basically, Hollow Palm's ceiling is this much effectiveness, and this much effectiveness is matched by a Quarterstaff with 400 top end flat and +6 Quarterstaffs, and you will need 13% base crit on the Quarterstaff in order to cap using pinpoint. So with those numbers in mind, let's go and have a look at the trade site to see what this looks like. So on the trade site, I've searched up using Quarterstaffs here. I'm using the level 2 auto attack skills, which is an essence, and it only rolls like the value 6. The damage, I've kept it at 400, and my crit chance is 13. I'm searching currently, filtering using Chaos Orbs, you can see here, and let me just show you. Let me just have a look what exalts look like, because I haven't actually looked at the exalt section. So you can see here, some of these are pretty pricey, but there's one here for 30x, and it's got +6. It's got enough, it's got a lot of decent crit chance, like base crit chance. So let's have a look at how much actual damage this thing does, like the flat. This DPS value here is not accurate because it's damage per second. So it's flat damage on the weapon times attacks per second. So to kind of go back in the formula, we take the DPS and instead of timesing, we divide by attacks per second, which results in 264 base flat damage on this quarterstaff. Now, I'm going to paste this into here, and you can see that it's 1.4 effectiveness, 1.4k effectiveness versus nearly 2000 effectiveness. So it's around like 60% of the hollow palm damage. But remember, this is 30 exalts, right? So if we, instead of filtering for exalts, look at chaos, and the same thing, we're going to sort by DPS, and we're going to look for cheap ones. You see here, this one's 25, 25, 20, right? Let's take a look at this 25 one, 484%, DPS. So same thing, 484 divided by the attack speed. So in this case, this one here is probably better. I'm going to go 477 divided by 1.4. That gives us 340%, 340 flat base. Paste it in. That's basically matching the top end for hollow palm. So at this point, the reason why I decided to swap off hollow palm is mainly just because cost efficiency. It's in order to use close combat, I need to cap my crit, which involves very, very high ES numbers. In order to achieve this, the ES gear I would have to buy would be way more expensive and cost multiple times more than if I just bought a quarterstaff that matched my hollow palm DPS or surpassed my hollow palm DPS. And that's kind of the issue here. It's just cost effectiveness and just numbers really. And after running the numbers, previous video I was confident. Now I'm just saying that you should use hollow palm to get to tier 15s, low tier 15s. As soon as you get there, you should use the new crafting systems to try and get yourself a good enough weapon. And that will allow you to do all the content on Flickr without any big issue. So with these numbers in mind, let's hop into game and I'll show you what my actual quarterstaff is. So right here, this is my quarterstaff. My overlay can show the DPS numbers, so we can have a look here. So you can see here, it's doing 554 DPS. It's got +5. It's got 13% crit, which is what we want. And it's got increased elemental damage with attacks. So in terms of effectiveness, if we hop back over to the spreadsheet, that's 554 damage, DPS, divided by attacks per second, 395, paste it in. The DPS on here matches, but remember that my quarterstaff is doing, it has 100, I think it was like 100% increased elemental. And so that kind of just like is extra free damage on top. And so that's kind of like a big deal here. Well, my quarterstaff's not actually that good because it's +5, by the way, not +6. But it's actually very easy to get a +6 quarterstaff. And I'll show you what the prices look like on trade. So hopping over to trade again, these are the +6 here with the correct crit and decent DPS. 25 chaos, 25 chaos, 20 chaos, 40, 15. This is probably not that good, but these 25 chaos ones are pretty good in terms of their DPS. They come with crit and they come with attack levels. So this is kind of the reason why I decided to swap off. It was more expensive for me to scale it was more expensive for me to scale hollow palm than it was for me to just buy a quarterstaff that would surpass hollow palm. And because of that, it's just more cost effective for me to play non-hollow palm instead of pushing this and spending a lot more money and a lot more currency. Because generally I like to keep my builds relatively budget in terms of when I'm building them and making sure I'm doing good upgrades that are cost effective. Okay, so with that in mind, I'll show a little bit about how you actually craft this later. It's actually not that difficult, but I'm just going to go over the changes to the build. So Meditate was added, and I'm using these 3 supports. It doesn't really matter, honestly. Flicker Strike has no change to it. It's the same supports and the same boss swaps. Herald of Thunder now has close combat into last slot. However, I recommend you use Long Shot 2 instead, or Long Shot 3, whatever the highest level is. Charge Staff same supports. Representification, same supports. Profane Ritual, also the same supports. And Infernal Cry, exactly the same. Stormwave, exactly the same. All of these are level 19 gems as well. Sorry, Stormwave does have one change. I'm now using Branching Fizzes in here instead of Upheaval, because this actually allows the little fizzes that come out, it allows them to shotgun on mobs and the bosses. So the first one will hit, and the other line that comes out will also hit, so it'll be like 2x damage. And if the boss is big enough, it'll be 3x damage, because both of the extra lines coming out of the middle line will all hit the boss. The last change is a companion called Flesh Pierce. This is a new companion that was added with the interludes. And what this companion does is it gives you a haste aura, which gives you 25% increased attack speed and 25% move speed. So my move speed is 50%, and then when I toggle it off, my move speed is 27%. It's just quality of life. And the only reason why I can fit this is because I had a massive massive body armor upgrade, and my evasion is now 1.2 and 480 energy shield, which then gives me a ton of spirit from here, which then results in me being 221 spirit, which then gives me enough space to use this thing. If you do not want to use this, you do not have enough spirit, just continue to use charge regulation from the previous video. Okay, I'll show you how you actually find this. It's actually very easy. First thing you do is go to the Kari Bazaar, and then you head to the left entrance. So this one over here. Once you've loaded in, you just run north. So I'll just wait for it to load in. I'm gonna run north until you see looks like a gate, like a doorway, and then there'll be a checkpoint next to it. There should be like around here. That's the thing, this thing here. See this doorway, see this checkpoint. Pop the checkpoint, respawn at checkpoint, confirm. This will spawn you at that checkpoint. If you don't move, the mobs won't target you. So you see here, now what I do is I hover over the two mobs here. So we're looking for Blood Gulp, that's one of them. And then this one right on top of me is Flesh Pierce. So I can't see him, so I'm going to move a little bit. And you can see that he has... Okay, it's not really helping, we just reset again. But basically, you reset, you hover over the companions, and then you catch them, if they have good mods. This one's Blood Gulp. Doesn't actually look like Flesh Pierce is here. I think I might have not reset the instance. But Flesh Pierce will be here, and you can just hover and capture him from this location here. It's because I actually went here again earlier, so it's not currently, Flesh Pierce hasn't reset because the instance hasn't been reset. But yeah, anyways, it's just go there and capture the beast like that. This beast gives me the movement speed, which is very convenient. That's why I'm using it. It just feels nice to use. And the attack speed also seems to help a little bit every now and then. So it's just a nice use of my spirit. Otherwise, I will have a lot of spirit just unused. That basically covers it for the skill section. Not much has changed. The only thing that changed was Stormwave. So this first support here. And a 6 link on Herald of Thunder, which should be long shot. And that's like basically it. And meditate, if you count that. The next part is the gear section. So helmet is the same. Gloves is the same. Boots is the same. Amulet is the same. Nothing has changed there. This ring is still the same. This ring I've upgraded. But the resistances it gives are the same. It's actually technically a downgrade in terms of damage because there's less flat. I'll show you my previous ring. This one right here, because this one has cold damage and lightning damage. So this one's actually more damage, but I will be testing this one soon. So for now, I can put this one back on. And you see my damage will go up. So to 27,000, sorry. But yeah, not much has upgraded there. The weapon I showed before, the chest was the big upgrade that I made. It's got a lot more ES and a lot more evasion. And it allows my ES to go really high. It also allows my evasion to go to like 30%. However, obviously upgrade based on your budget and your crafting, so you don't have to rush this slot. And my belt I changed to have a bit more res. That's all I've changed here. More or less no changes to gear except the Quarterstaff, which I will show you how to craft that now quickly. Let me just quickly, give me 1 second. Okay, so was this one here. This is just how I crafted my Quarterstaff. So to start, I started with the cold damage base. The cold damage was tier 3, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to augment this. User aug. Bam, I hit plus 5 melee skill gems. So at that point, I'm like, this is good potential. The next step is because my build needs to have crit, I'm going to use an essence to add crit to it. So there's this specific essence. What was it called? Let's see if I can get a picture. Essence of Seeking is the essence. That adds crit to it. So now this is my item now. It's got tier 3 cold, tier 2 melee skills, tier 3 crit. Now if I skip ahead a bit, what I did now was I just YOLO jawboned it, and jawbone hit a suffix. And then the next step I did, let's skip ahead a bit, I used a double exalt omen and a greater exalt. So greater omen of greater exaltation and a greater exalted orb. And I just toggled the omen on, slammed it. This was the item that I got. So I got tier 4 flat and tier 3 increased elemental damage with attacks. At this point, the weapon is basically done. I'm going to go unveil it. So I went over to this. You can see here, as I walk up to it, just toss it in. I think I went back to get a reroll omen. Yeah. So because the Quarterstaff was quite good, I bought one of these expensive Abyssal Echoes. Then I did it. I hit attack speed on the first one, and I settled with attack speed. So that's basically how you can craft. It's all about picking up bases off the floor, and then hitting them with the currencies. And if it hits, you continue. If it's bad, you just vendor or you save it for Recombinator, and you kind of call it at that. I'll just show you how you actually swap now. I don't think I have. Before I continue, I don't think I have a VOD. Yeah, I don't have a VOD for the chest craft, but it's basically crafted using the similar kind of process. When you're going to swap from Hollow Palm to Quarterstaffs, you need to make sure that your crit is still capped, right? So I'm unspecking, and then I put on the Quarterstaff. Then you see the Quarterstaff's on now, and then I'm keeping the menu here open. I'm looking at crit nodes and stuff like that, mainly crit chance nodes, and I'm checking my main hand critical hit chance, and I'm making sure that's capped by clicking nodes on the tree. So I'm unspecking my tree, I'm clicking crit nodes, so I went and clicked these Quarterstaff nodes here, which are very good for us, especially since the last one has a good effect with power charges. And you can see that I'm just trying to cap it, and then I'm clicking like small nodes to make sure it's capped. And then after that, we're still at 90%, so you can see that I'm just fiddling around with optimizing the tree in terms of point usage. And right here, we're capped at 100%. So that's kind of the process here. Depending on your Quarterstaff, you want to make sure that your crit is capped, and just make sure that you click the nodes on the skill tree until it's capped, and then use the rest somewhere else. It's a very simple process. So what has this allowed me to do? I'll just show you my Sanctum kill. So this is with the Quarterstaff now. I'm going to skip straight to the final boss. The damage is way higher because of the scaling I told you before. So he spawns, my charges are both ready. And then I swap over to my boss swap, which I should have done before. I hit him until he's shocked. This is the shock debuff. I war cry, I flicker strike. And then he faces. And then same thing repeats. I'll just show you again. Same thing. Hit him until he's shocked. War cry. He wasn't even shocked, but I just war cried and he just died. So that was my fourth ascendancy. But with further upgrades, I'll show you the 6 mod Citadel that I did. So I'll just skip through most of the mapping and I'll show you a mapping showcase. But here's the boss. So same thing. Power charge is ready, charge stuff is ready. Hit him until he's shocked. War cry, flick strike. And then he phases. Same thing, getting my charges back. And then here we go. Hit him until he's shocked, war cry and flick strike. And that's basically it. And for this one, I didn't even swap to the bossing gems. Just didn't bother. So if you want to look at the damage, it's like 5 million HP, and he was just instantly dead in one flicker strike. So that's kind of what the bossing looks like. I'll show you a Abyss example. This was an Untainted Paradise with the following mods. So extra damage, bleeding, stun, and 7 additional pits. This is a very, very good way to get XP that I've discovered, and I'm sure people are using, because all the Abyss mobs get the extra XP bonus from Untainted Paradise. This is kind of what mapping looks like once you have enough damage. So the Quarterstaff does a ton of damage with Herald of Thunder. And so this kind of allows you to just like press Flicker Strike and then just the entire Abyss just dies. And then when they respawn, you just rinse and repeat. Reaper's Invocation, Flicker Strike. And then back up a bit, waiting for power charges, repeat. Backing up a little bit to meditate. Then going back in. So that was like one of the abysses, and I'll skip to the next one here, which I think is like over here. I think I already flickered in, did I? Oh yeah, right here, yeah. So more or less, mapping for juiced like tier 16 mapping, it's perfectly fine. In defensives, we are fine. We have a lot of HP. The main thing you need to be careful about is if you flicker strike and it stops in the middle of an abyss, you need to roll out and try and get distance with Stormwave to delay until you get your charges back, and then you can flicker strike again. But generally, it's pretty fine for mapping. So here's another example. I'll show you what this looks like here. So I go in with flicker strike and charges. Then I'm in the middle, right? So what I do is I roll out, try and get distance, meditate, roll out again, Stormwave a little bit, Reaper's Invocation for charges, and then flicker strike when charges are ready. So charges are ready now. Just going in again. And then same thing as before, roll out, make distance, use Stormwave, rinse and repeat. If you can wipe the entire pack, if you have enough power charges, you obviously don't have to roll out. But it's just to be safe, to make sure I don't randomly die. But with such a big hit pool and meditate, you're generally pretty safe. Cool. I'll show some of my boss kills. So this was a level 1 King of the Mist. And it's basically just a one shot. Just how it kind of goes for Flicker Strike and the gear. So hit him into his shocked, Warcry, Flicker Strike. And that was not even using the right gems. I swapped them after killing his first phase. And then in the second phase, get the power charges ready, charge shaft ready, and then go into the arena. And the same thing happens. So hit him shocked, Warcry, Flicker Strike, instantly dead. Did way more damage than the first time because the gem swap was correct. You see that? Just died instantly. And same applied for Breach. There's not much to watch here. It's just like standard mapping. Everything died in one shot. But see here in a second when Breach spawns. More or less the same thing happened. So this Quarterstaff is easily good enough to do like higher tier difficulty. And there was no issues with this at all. Passive tree before I cover that. So CI with some stun recovery. As many crit nodes as you need to cap your crit. We're also taking these here. And we are taking these nodes now. So this is basically just 11% more damage because it allows you to flicker for more. It's a nice quality of life in mapping, and on bossing it's more damage as well. This jewel here, you don't need this jewel. However, the increased effect of notables does help because it boosts this notable here, which gives you flat crit, which can help you cap your crit. So it's kind of a min-maxed upgrade. This jewel is very expensive. If I check the price of it, just these two lines are just not on the market. However, I think it's probably guessing this as being a fracture. But this jewel is very expensive and it's like really good. I crafted this myself. You could see here, I had 4 mods and this one here. I fractured, it hit, And then I used the Abyssal item to unveil the last one here. The other jewel I have is something I'm testing. It's the new Heart of the Well diamond. This one has Leech's instant and chance for lightning damage to be lucky. You don't need something like this. However, I don't think this is very expensive. It's like 75. However, if you lower these values, it'll be a bit cheaper. Oh, never mind. It's around this price. Looks like it's a bit oh, never mind. It is much cheaper. Yeah. So it's much cheaper if you lower the values. However, you don't need this. You can just use a standard damage Quarterstaff jewel. Okay. That more or less wraps it up for this video. I'll just pull out a list of what the upgrades were. So the first one was the Quarterstaff. The next one was the Time Lost, this one here. And then Fourth Ascendancy, so Meditate plus CI. And then, you need an Ignite Charm. You want an anti-Ignite Charm if you're playing Meditate, because it will remove the Ignite to allow you to meditate whenever you're in danger. So this is really important. The next one here was these points here. Grab these points when I leveled up. And that's basically it. Nothing much has changed, except the Quarterstaff. So yeah, what's next for this character? It's probably just upgrading this Quarterstaff further. However, I do want to test a setup using these particular gloves. Essentia, what are they called again? These instant leech, life leech is converted to energy shield leech. So I want to use these gloves in combination with a ring that has leech's physical damage as life, and then using a Quarterstaff that has mostly physical damage. You see this one has a pretty large amount of physical damage here, some lightning, some elemental, some fire, but it has a decent fizz roll. This one has a little bit less, but using that in combination with the gloves to leech life, to leech energy shield while flickering, to have like a very comfy and very tanky experience. So that's kind of my idea. I will probably make an update once this is set up. However, all you need is those gloves I showed. You need a Quarterstaff with like the same values I talked about before, right? Good crit, good flat, preferably some physical, like a decent chunk of physical, and level melee gems or attack skills. And you need this jewel in particular because it makes a leech instant. And I wanted to try that. That makes you very tanky generally. So I was hoping to test that with this new jewel, since that would give basically permanent sustain on ES characters, which is very hard to get nowadays. So that's what I'll be testing next. I just bought all the pieces, so I'll be probably swapping to that soon. But yeah, I hope that wraps it up for this video, and I don't really think there's much else to talk about in terms of upgrades. However, I'll probably make an update once there's new information and once I kill some of the later bosses, and probably do a final update, like a final video, once all these are like 8 out of 8 and I finished with this character and moving on to the next character, which I actually don't see being very long, because it seems like the crafting has accelerated with gear progression insanely compared to the previous league. So like my gear is like actually nuts for the amount of time I've played, which I don't even think is that long. I think it's like a decent chunk. It's like 2 days, 8 hours. But compared to my previous character, like my gear was worse than this and I played way more. But yeah, hope you're enjoying Flicker Strike. If you have any questions, just chuck them in the comments below. And have a great day.